What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mile High Hockey. And unfortunately, the Avalanche have suffered a couple of losses since the last time we chatted with you. Mike Evans, Will Peterson. Mike, it's in our YouTube caption today. The Avalanche in a little bit of a slump. Honestly, the game against St. Louis was frustrating. And then last night against Calgary, 2 goals in about 30 seconds in the third period to two guys you have never heard of. Avalanche eventually losing a shootout 3-2. I think the word slump might be fair to be tossing around at this moment.
I'm going to use a different word. I'm going to use 2 words. I'm going to use human nature. I think what we're seeing here, and Jared Bednar touched on it after the loss to Calgary, is that these guys know what the standings show. And the standings show that they're pretty much locked into that 3rd seed. They know they're going to be the 3rd seed. They know they're likely going to be playing Dallas in the first round, and they know that Dallas will have home ice. So I think what you're seeing is that they're playing these teams like Montreal, St. Louis, Calgary, teams that are desperate right now to try to make the playoffs. And as the great Sandy Clough once told me, you can't manufacture desperation. You're either desperate or you're not. And so what I think we're seeing here, and I think what we'll continue to see down the stretch, is the Avalanche over these final 7 games, they're not really playing for anything other than just to keep their continuity going, stay sharp, maybe get a little bit of rest. But in terms of that urgency, you're not going to feel it again until the playoffs.
Well, and you and I have hit on this before on this podcast, but it's the dirty little secret. And it's a secret that no one wants to hear as a fan, especially if you're spending a lot of money to go to these games. You went to the game last night, spent a few $100. They looked flat at times, blew a 2-2 lead or blew a 2-0 lead, losing a shootout. The Avalanche are bored. Bored could be another word that we could throw out there, because we all remember the dog pile against St. Louis in Game 82. What was that, 6-7 years ago now, 7-8 years ago? Because they were so starved just to make the playoffs and show after that pitiful 47-point season that they were back, and it was such a climb to the top. Mike, when year in, year out, you make the postseason and you know that the only thing your year is going to be judged on is what happens in the playoffs. I mean, this is like being a senior in high school right now, just counting down the days to graduation. They desperately want April 19th to get here in the start of the playoffs.
And that's a great point. That's why I don't put a whole lot of stock in what we see over these final 7 games. Because remember, when they won the Cup, they were slumping down the stretch. And you had some people, I remember our own Brandon Stokely was like at 11.5 on the 1 to 10 panic meter, and because they had lost some games at the end of the season. So I think you're right. I think a little bit of senioritis has kicked in for the Avs right now. They know their playoff fate. So I think now, if you're the team, don't fight it. Lean into it. Use this as an opportunity to rest some guys. Give some guys a couple days away from the rink just to make sure that they're ready to go, because rest does matter. You know, when they won the Cup, remember, they had some series where they had like 7, 8, 9 days off in between series, and we were debating rest versus rust and all of that. And I think we look back on that realizing, you know what, the rest helps. It helps more than it hurts. So I would hope that that's how they kind of approach these this final stretch here in the regular season.
Well, it's interesting you bring up rest, because we'll get to Gabe Landeskog in a few minutes, but I want to talk about April 12th and April 13th. That's where you finish your season. You're in Southern California against the Ducks and the Kings. I don't remember the order. Regardless, you're not going to start the postseason until April 19th. So you're already going to have 6 days off between April 13th and April 19th. But is there a temptation to tell Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar and Valeri Nichushkin and whoever else, don't even get on the plane. We're not even taking you to California, because is there such thing as too much rest? You were just talking about the long gaps they had the year they won the Cup in 2022. In my eyes, I'd be tempted to just leave them in Denver, especially if St. Louis or Minnesota cannot catch me and I cannot catch Dallas. I don't think April 12th and 13th matter at all in that end of the season road trip to California.
I completely agree. Don't even put them on the plane. Don't even put them on the plane. Don't even have the temptation. Don't have the idea that one of them may talk you into, hey, I want to go in this game, but I'll sit this one out. Nope. You're not even getting on the plane. Nope. Not going to do it.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that. Let's get to the captain, because there's always news about the captain. Skates the other day on Power Play 1. Everyone got all excited about that, and we should be excited. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to downplay this. Gabe Landeskog hasn't played in 3 years, and he's beloved in this town. But still no firm updates on if or when we will see him this season. And, Mike, you have a theory, not even a theory, but just a thought about Could he go play for the Colorado Eagles for a little bit? Like, when are we going to get Gabe Landeskog in a real hockey game?
Well, you have to get him in a hockey game.
That's not round one, game one.
Correct. And the other thing, too, is, and let's look at Gabe. When Gabe makes his return, assuming you're going to start on the road, you're going to start on the road in Dallas or Winnipeg, okay? It makes no sense to have Gabe Landeskog make his return in game one or game two on the road. You want to do it game three at home, bring the roof down type thing, okay? So how do you do that? Well, that buys you some time. I think there's two scenarios at play. If you really feel like he's close, but now you got to find out if he can play in a game and how he recovers. You can't put him his first game in 3 years as a playoff game. I think that really is a risky proposition, okay? And I think it's unfair to Gabe and unfair to the teammates. So what you do is a couple things. You mentioned those games in LA and Anaheim at the end of the season. I think it's a perfect opportunity to maybe get a little creative. You can stash maybe a couple players on long-term injured reserve, play that game, move them onto LTIR, move Gabe off LTIR, put him in a position to play. The other one that's maybe even more interesting is that the Colorado Eagles season does continue the week that the Avalanche are waiting to start the playoffs. So the Avalanche finished on that Sunday, I think the 13th. The Eagles have a couple of games that following week.
Okay.
And I believe, and we're still trying to figure out all the rules and machinations behind that, but that you could have Gabe then suit up and play with the Eagles for a game or two. And again, if the idea is to bring him back for game 3 and 4, it's not like you have to have him ready to go game 1 of the playoffs. Maybe that buys you a little time just to see if he can play in a game, recover from playing in that game, and now you can really start thinking about game 3 back here at Ball Arena.
Interesting. Okay. And I believe, if he plays for the Eagles, I'll be driving up north, Mike.
Oh,
I got to be there.
Standing room only,
right?
For that
yeah,
one.
like it would be packed, no doubt about it. Media and fans alike. I guess I do disagree with you a little bit that you have to bring him back game 3, because I think regardless, his first game back at Ball Arena, the roof's going to pop off the place. Whether we all watched him on TV in Dallas or not, I don't think that changes the reaction. I'm going to push back a little. I think if he could play with the Eagles on, say, April 15th, that he could play for you against the Stars in Dallas on April 19th.
Okay, I get it, but I think part of the idea of a Gabe return is just being able to also use that emotional wave that you're going to be able to ride and capitalize on.
But emotional either way, right? It's his first game back in Denver.
I just think it well, I don't know how he's going to respond to playing. So I don't know how much hockey he'll be able to have in him. I hope and so I guess I'd rather use that to my maximum advantage by having him play at home. But it's a good problem to have, and but I do feel like after what I saw the other day, that video, Will, of him out there on Power Play 1 unit, taking a few cross checks from Eric Johnson, I think now I don't know about you, but I think it's just a matter of when, not if, he attempts to play before the playoffs.
Well, and that's what Gabe said at the golf tournament. When, not if, at the BMW Championship last summer. He also said mid-September to April. You know what? I was critical of the guy. He may hit all those deadlines.
That'd be awesome.
And his word may come true.
Can I make one quick little
Oh, yeah, you
comment?
had an April Fool's Day beef.
Yeah, so we're doing this right now on April Fool's. Listen, people, it's not that funny, okay? I know you're trying to be cute. You're on social media, and you're putting out these stories designed to get people to, I fell for it. But some of these just aren't cool, man. Like, I saw one that said, Cale Makar has suffered a lower body injury. He has now been ruled week to week, and there's a good chance he'll miss the first round of the playoffs. Ha, 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 ha. Really funny. You got me. I mean, no, let's not mess around with that stuff. That's bad karma, man. That's bad gree-gree. Don't do it.
Yeah, if you want to do something funny with, like, the uniforms or whatever, go for it. All your little heart desires.
Right.
But to April Fools an injury, that just feels like it's not in the spirit of the holiday.
Not cool, man.
Yeah. All right,
cool.
Well, be careful on social media today, folks.
Heads up. Head on a swivel.
You don't know what's true. You don't know. I guess 365, we don't really know what's true and what's not.
True.
But particularly today, Mike and I will be back on Thursday for another edition of Mile High Hockey.